Hello. It's been a while. I know. At least 6 weeks, probably more than that. Hello. It's been a while. And as
At
ever,
least 6 weeks.
and as ever, I always forget to turn that one sound setting off, which gives lots of echo. Apologies, please. Right, where was I? Oh yeah, it's been 6 weeks. It's been a crazy 6 weeks. It's been 6 weeks of putting cables out of the way. 6 weeks of getting up stupid o'clock early in the morning, working, taking the wife to work, coming back, working some more, visit the hospital, or work some more, pick the wife up, visit the hospital, eat our tea, dinner, whatever it is, on a hospital bed, come back, do something, go to sleep, get up. And literally that's been my day for 6 weeks. And when it's not work, and work isn't griefing you, then it's all those other things that get in the way of generally what you want to do in life, which is enjoy things like doing the washing and cooking the food and cleaning the house and obeying your cat because they meow at you and tell you that they want to do stuff. And let's face it, the cat runs the house because any animal that says I pooped here, you clean it up is definitely in charge. So yeah, it's been a while. That's just things I've had to deal with. And sorry, but real life does come first. So anyway, I'm kind of back. This is the first day that I've actually had any respite from the regime. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. I've caught it with a couple of friends this afternoon, having dealt with all the other things I should deal with this morning. And I thought it would be nice to sit and do a little shortish stream, nothing too crazy, based around a couple of things that I posted on Facebook a little while ago, to see what people feel. And if things work out, I'm going to try and do the draft tournament that happened in May, begins with an M, May, and kind of went into a little bit of June, which I did reasonably well in, and I thought I would share my deck and what I drew and how I went about it, and make a few comments on some of the games and how they went, and how my card choices either worked or didn't work in those games, and how they went. So anyway, enough of that. That's another point. What we are talking about here is I'm just going to take that sound down a bit, I think. Let's try that. I've been tweaking with the sound because when I listen to the YouTube feedback, the sound always seems a little low. So anyway, one of the things that happened during the draft tournament, after I'd played a few people, and there was one particular pairing of Mitch and Chester, who, hope you guys are well, enjoying your summer and your grandchildren and the bikes and the roads and everything else, guys. We had quite an in-depth conversation about a number of our draft picks and what we chose, mainly because we'd played our matches and we'd seen what was in other people's decks, and we weren't going to revisit that or whatever else. And there were a couple of interesting choices and a couple of things that we agreed on, but I felt was worthy of note. And to that end, I put them on Facebook to get what people felt about. And there was a choice between two command cards, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, and then two mechs. And a lot of people responded on the mechs, and not a lot of people responded on the command cards. So I'm going to start with those. So the two let's rewind. Draft tournament, Commander's Edition starter, randomly allocated, and an Arsenal booster and a Crusade booster. Now, when we look at this, then I probably should remove these because they're the Mercenaries and Mech Warrior versions of the card. But the Gearhead and Repair Facility cards both feature in the Commander's Edition. And I don't think they are in any of the decks as specific cards. There might be one in a Sphere deck or two, but I'd have to check them. I think Repair Facility features in the Jade Falcon deck, and maybe one other, but otherwise they were, and the rarity on both is common. They were random picks in your Commander's Edition deck. So let me just clarify what that is. Your Commander's Edition starter is 50 cards that are set. So depending on which one it is, the cards for Steiner are set, the cards for Kurita are set, the Wolf cards, etc. There are 50 of those which are permanent. They never change. Okay? And there are 10 cards that are drawn from a pool. And those 10 cards can be commands, they can be units, and they can be missions. There are no rarity, as far as I can tell, on what's drawn. So if there are 30 cards, it's an equal chance of everything. And all of those cards are common cards. So all of your rares and uncommon cards are in the 50 card deck, and you are given an additional 10 common cards in order to fill out the rest of it. So these 2 cards featured in some of the decks that I was talking to players about. Okay, and those cards are Repair Facility and Gearhead. And a lot of people seem to like Repair Facility, and a lot of people seemed to not like Gearhead, and my opinion differs. Okay, happy to say that. I remember talking to Mitch and Chester saying he thought this was quite reasonable, and Mitch and I both shaking our heads and disagreeing with him. And you know, as everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So let's look at what they do first, and then we'll kind of compare them and see what we think. So Repair Facility, we've got the Mercenary version here and the Commander's Edition here on the left there. The image is the same, and just hold on a second. Let me close the door so that in the wind it doesn't bang and scare us to death. Okay. The Gearhead, interestingly enough, was this kind of ponytailed looking warrior with some sort of technical welding gun strike torch kind of thing here, and they completely changed the art and went a bit kind of cyberpunky in this image. Different guy, Doug Schuler on that one, and Doug Schuler again on that one, in fact. Obviously a different take on things. So our Repair Facility is a 0-3A resource with 4 armor and 2 structure. So it loses 1 structure compared to a normal research. And like a normal resource, it has tap for a resource. Great, standard resource stuff. It also gains tap, repair 1 damage to one of your units. Use this ability during your repair reload phase. Okay, and it provides assembly. Okay, sorry, this door really is annoying me. Hopefully that'll change. So, everyone says, hey, that's pretty good, I can repair stuff. So, yes, you can repair stuff, and that repair, which is cleaner on this image, I'll say, is in addition to the assembly ability. So, if we just remind ourselves of what that is, here's a support assembly. It says, during your repair reload phase, you may pay 1 resource to repair 1 damage. Okay, so our Repair Facility, because it's tap repair 1, so we can tap another. We can tap a normal assembly and repair 1 on that, and then we can tap our Repair Facility and repair a couple more on that as well. Okay, so it allows us to repair 2, and in that respect, that's quite nice, providing we've got something to repair. If we haven't got anything to repair, then that's not quite as good. Okay, and that is an issue. Okay, because in a lot of competitive games, mechs either die horribly or they don't get damaged. I very often over-damage mechs to ensure that they die, because there are damage prevention missions, rather than putting two damage on a mech with 1 armor and whatever else. I might put 2 extra on what I'm trying to kill in order to make sure it dies. And I stop the risk of a preventative heavy fog or other such like, keeping both units alive. So I'd rather kill one than kill neither. Okay, so that seems okay. The trap that people fall into with this mission is actually the 03A buyout, which is quite bizarre on Repair Facility because it's in red. You look at the Gearhead, it's in black. You look at the Repair Facility, it's in red. And they think this is a normal resource. So they might, in a 45 card deck, start with 6 assembly because, well, I want my most assembly, and then 5 munitions and 5 logistics, shall we say. But what they'll do is they'll take an assembly out and they'll put this in and think, it's a resource, fine. The problem is the 3A buyout. So you still need an assembly on the table to put the repair facility down to provide an assembly, which is it's sucky. Because if you draw this in your opening hand, then, and that's your assembly, you're stuck. You've got to pay 3 for it. Now, Chester, when we discussed this on Facebook, said, you know what, I'm quite happy running 7 assemblies and 1 repair facility, because in that one game in 8, I'm happy to take those odds, which is fine, you know. And 1 in 8 isn't a bad set of odds. But if it's 1 in 6, because you're running 5 normal assemblies, actually it should be 1 in 7, shouldn't it? Thinking about it now. So if it's 1 in 6 because you're running 5 other assemblies, those odds increase. So my preferred method of viewing this card is, if you remember the 24, 12, 24, 24 resources, 12 commands and pilots and missions and things, and 24 units, mechs, helicopters, whatever else. I would, if I was going to run this, and you probably need to run a dedicated deck for it, I would put that in the 12 with the other commands and not other commands and missions, not with the resources, because it doesn't provide a resource unless I've got assembly on the table. Okay, so it's a trap. And a lot of people will fall into it thinking, I can take an assembly out and put one of these in. That's a bad move. You're inviting trouble. And I would strongly urge you not to. And that's why I don't particularly favour this card. Okay. Gearhead, on the other hand, I'm going to go for the Mech Warrior version, although it is available in CE, because it's just easier and cleaner on the screen. Okay. It's an Innisphere pilot. Okay, so it is limited. It's a 0 cost with 2A and 2 tactics buyout. Well, to be honest, most pilots, they require tactics, and most mechs require assembly. So the chances are you're probably going to run A and T. Okay, like Repair Facility, 0 cost. Okay, doesn't provide a resource. And if you've got assembly down, you can play your repair facility and tap it for another resource. Fine, great. This doesn't provide that. However, it is a pilot, it sits on a mech, and it has +1 attack. So I'm getting 1 damage from whichever pilot it is, or whichever unit has Gearhead on it. That's a nice damage bonus. Okay. Mech piloted by Gearhead gets 1 armor, +1 armor. Okay, how incredibly unthematic, because let's face it, this guy with his combat armor and whatever else isn't going to actually give your 60-tonner any less more durability by standing in the way of a PPC blast. It's a card game, it's due to represent the abilities, not the thematic elements of it. Okay, so he's not actually that thick and made of metal that he's going to provide 1 armor. but his ability does. Okay, so he gives you +1 armor, and he is the only pilot in the normal game that gives an armor. It's quite nice. If you put him on something that's quite chunky, so let's look at something that's quite chunky, and I will go with the Berserker Revised, because this is the ultimate chunk, because it's a 411 and it has ECM, so effectively it's a 511. Put your Gearhead on this, then it's actually a 611, so you need to do 6 damage to it before it even gets scratched, and then you have to do another additional 11 on top of that. Then that's quite hard to kill. I'll pop that in there for reference in case I need it again. Okay. And it allows you to repair 1 damage to a mech piloted by Gearhead. Use this ability only during your repair reload phase and only once each turn. So that's basically the same reading as repair facility, only during your repair phase. Yeah. So you've got to tap it, so you can only use it once. Okay. So they both provide 1 heal, effectively, 1 repair. Okay. Limitations of your Gearhead being that it will only provide it on the mech that you have it on. Repair facility will provide it on anything that you want, so a bit more utility repair facility. But as I said, that 038 trap, people using it in the wrong way, wrong. Okay. Gearhead, you can probably stick on most mechs with +1 attack, no initiative, but +1 armor and prevent 1 damage makes things generally quite durable. And what this means is that your opponent is more likely to have to focus fire in order to remove your Gearhead. Okay. They both repair in the repair reload phase. So this happens before the deploy phase. So what you cannot do with your Gearhead is move him to another unit and repair that. He can only repair on the unit that he's currently on. So you can't move him to another damaged unit and repair at that point because it's out of sync. You do that in your deploy phase and mess them around and move your pilots around. So it's kind of awkward because of the changes in the phase and that being out of sync. But for me, the Gearhead gives a lot more benefit and a lot more options. Well, you can look at it this way. The repair facility allows me to heal 1, repair 1 on any unit. Gearhead allows me to do that on the unit I'm on, but it also gives me +1 attack and +1 armor. So arguably I'm getting 3 points potentially with my Gearhead focused on 1 thing, whereas the repair facility 1 somewhere else. Okay. I wouldn't run repair facility in a deck unless I was running the right amount of assemblies that I am happy with, and I want to go for the heal style of deck. The problem with the heal style of deck, as I've said earlier, is that people need to basically focus fire. If they focus fire and kill your unit, if it's dead, you can't repair it. Okay? If it's a hurting puppy and it's got 5 structure, then that's different. But most people just kill it outright. And if you're at a point where your opponent is chump blocking and they just allocate their damage, then the chances are you've probably won the game. So Gearhead can prevent that damage, and for me is the card of the 2 I would pick if I was considering putting it in a deck. I would obviously take all things into consideration, but my preference would be for Gearhead. Okay. Now, the other one I posted was the comparison between the Cauldron Born Prime from the clan side and the Striker from the Innisphere side. So let me just get rid of my Gearhead for a moment so this is easy for me to see. Okay. So if you're drafting, then you pick from a deck. If you're playing sealed, then this could be in a booster. This is an Arsenal booster. And therefore it was valid in the tournament. It popped up, and the Striker is also in one of the boosters, but this time in Crusade, so they were valid as well. And I know I know Chester definitely ran the striker and quite loved it. Okay, so they are actually quite a world apart. Cauldron Born Prime is 6 cost, 3 assembly, 2 munitions buyout. So munitions is a bit of a pain, but if your deck's the right way, this could be a good and viable card. It's a 2/7/5, so it's nice and durable, 5 damage, not to be sneezed at, and it has a very, very respectable long range 2, which in a shortened format like Draft, where, okay, not always, but in this case, it was a 45 card deck. Long range 2 is quite powerful, quite useful. Okay, the striker also costs 6. It has no buyouts, so you can probably guarantee sticking that in a deck. It's a 3/8, which is a bit better than the Cauldron Born's 2/7. It also does 5 damage. It has no other abilities. Okay, and it is slow. Our Cauldron Born is medium. Okay. So again, little comparison. They're similar but different. It's probably the best way to describe them. Less armor and structure, but faster. Buyouts versus none. 3/8 versus 2/7. Both do 5. No long range. Okay. I think they're both viable for a draft stroke sealed type thing. The striker being slow makes it a little prone to hunting, but the absence of any resources in order to buy it out is quite useful. At 3/8, it's pretty durable. 5 damage, not bad. 5 damage with something like an unopposed. Yes, I remember that, Chester Hendricks. Hurts. Okay. So not to be sneezed at and not to be ignored. Okay. I think if I was playing with assembly and munitions, I would probably prefer the Cauldron Born. Medium speed is pretty decent, allows things to hunt. Long range 2 is really good, and for durability at 2/7, it's reasonably durable. Okay. If I'm not playing A&T, or A&M in this case, sorry, then Striker is a viable alternative. I think both of them are playable. Each has weaknesses when compared to each other. Maybe the slow is possibly a little more impactful for the striker, and the long range is maybe a little more impactful for your Cauldron Born. But I wouldn't be adverse to putting either of these in a deck. In a 45 card game, a 6 cost unit is just about viable. You might be able to stretch that slightly. But from that point of view, I would say they're both solid choices. If I'm playing A&M or an AMT deck or an AML deck or something like that, I think I would probably prefer the Cauldron Born. If I'm not, and I'm in a position to play something like ATP or ALP or ALT, then the striker is obviously a good choice. Yeah, so both reasonable, both decent. I think most people preferred Cauldron Born. I think if I had to come down to it, and if I was playing AMT, I would prefer the Cauldron Born. I would play the Cauldron Born. It's not to say I couldn't play both, although you've got to work about whether that makes your deck feel a bit heavier or not. But viable, yeah. Striker at 3/8/5 with a Gearhead on it. Yeah, 4/8/6. Repair 1 each turn. That's quite nice. 4/8, you've got to do 12 to kill it. Yes, it's prone to hunting, but you're probably going to have to hunt it with 3 mechs, probably, to get to 12. So, and if you can't kill it, I'm just going to repair it. So, obviously on the Cauldron Born, a 3/7/6, repair 1 each turn at medium speed that's pretty snotty. I definitely like that. Okay, so there we go. Nice few little comparisons. basically they came out of conversations with other players during the sealed tournament. I'm hoping to be back soon with my deck from the sealed tournament that I did pretty well with. I'll try and remember how the matches went, and probably more interestingly, and I think I might shock a few people with the decisions that I made with the deck, but I'm going to say why I made them. And with the record I have, I think I've probably got a justifiable reason to say they weren't bad decisions. But that's another time and another place. So it's a short one. It's under half an hour, which is short for me because I know I can talk. But it's all I can squeeze in and fit in, given the time. And not that I'm trying to keep you warm, but it's nice to do a little bit of new content every now and again and share it with you all. So anyway, look after yourselves and take care. Watch out for that world. It's a big bad place out there. And I will catch you soon. Take care.